Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 574. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Matt, it's Mario Galaxy 2 Part 2 here on the Free Cheese podcast. This is one of our Wii Sports Killers, which, listeners, if you are unfamiliar, after 2 seasons of building the list, which you can find over at thefreecheese.com/thelist, we realized that Wii Sports had not been dethroned. So, Matt and I set about to do that. We picked 4 games, 2 each, that could potentially steal the crown at the top of the list. Super Mario Galaxy 2 was one of Matt's selections to do just that. We're going to wrap up our conversation on Super Mario Galaxy 2 today, and then in about 2 months-ish, just less than that, we will rank it and the other 3 Wii Sports Killers on the list. Until then, and before we dive into the game at large here, Matt, what's your favorite element when it comes to worlds in platforming video games?
Certainly not ice. This was, rank 'em last. Ice, definitely at the bottom. Yeah, I don't know about favorite.
You can get a little creative with the idea of element, because
Earth,
for
wind,
me,
fire.
not even that. See, I like when something that is not traditionally spooky throws in a little ghost level. So I look at
okay.
Look at element like you would look types of Pokemon. You know.
Okay. I think I'm on record saying I'm a big fan of the haunted levels in all these games.
I think
Boo's Mansions or whatever.
I do conversely like ice levels quite a bit. I like the ice worlds when they pop up. I think ice powers are cool. I used to draw my own version of Spyro the Dragon that had ice powers years before they gave him ice powers in the games.
Sick.
I just drew what was on the covers of Ripto's Rage and then used blue colored pencil to color him.
Got him.
Voila. Boom. Called him Ice Row. I don't think I called him Ice Row. But I could have. Probably called him Ice Spyro. I could do better. Spice Row? That sounds too much like a Spice Girl. We'll workshop this for the past me working on the Spyro the Ice Dragon.
You could
game.
do C row where there's a play.
Yeah.
C
Cold
and
as...
Spy, and then 0 is 0
That's
degrees
good.
Celsius, because you got to sell this worldwide, not just to America.
Yeah, yeah. And yes, everywhere else uses the C, not the F. But here we use the F, and we use the Wii Remote to play Super Mario Galaxy 2 in terrible transitions. Matt, by the time we recorded last episode, we were both kind of through Worlds 1, 2, and 3-ish, so feel free to, we'll talk at any point, or we'll talk through the game at large here. It's the second and last time I'll say at large during this episode. I guess that was the third, but that's the final one.
At large.
Dang. We'll talk kind of Worlds 4 through 6. We'll dip our toes into World S, just sort of talk about the end game, some of that final stuff as we played through it, and our overall lasting impressions of Super Mario Galaxy 2. I guess starting off, were there any stages in the back half of the game that particularly caught your attention?
I really loved towards the end of World 6, I believe, the Battle Belt Galaxy. I don't know why, but that is the one. There's big lava portions on this level, and there's a lot of going from planet to planet and like running along the running along, like just like platforming, avoiding the big I forgot, I don't know the name of the enemy. I don't have it pulled up. Or was it the Melty Monster Galaxy? Now that I'm looking at it, I don't know. Maybe I think both were good. Battle Belt was just okay. Sorry. Let me rewind. I do like both of these a lot, actually. Battle Belt is the one where you're just clearing the enemies on like little small planets. You're bouncing around and like you don't unlock the star to the next planet.
Right.
The one I was originally talking about was the Melty Monster Galaxy, and I stand by that answer, the Melty Monster Galaxy. I guess this maybe answers your icebreaker in a weird way, literally and figuratively. I like the I don't know, the fire added like an epic, like you're like around the core. Like, I don't know if it was symbolic, like you're at the end of the game and this is like the core of planets in a way. I don't know, but it felt somehow grand because I think just the size of the monsters, and it really was a lot of running and not a lot of defeating enemies. There was some interesting platforming in that section. Also, it had the really fun hidden star, the bowling challenge. I actually had fun with that one.
I spent so much time on the bowling challenge. I don't think I actually got it. Or did
Oh, you didn't? Damn.
There were a few that I spent like a lot of time going through. My note says spent a lot of this back half playtime just doing challenges for an hour at a time. The bowling challenge period is the full sentence there. Maybe I did finish it. I can't remember. I feel like I kind of hit a point with that one where I bailed because I just like kept failing right at the very end. Maybe I finished that one. I can't remember. I have a note here. I have one written down in my notes, but I'm not seeing it in World 6, so Okay, it was the Slip Sand Galaxy. Specifically, the Squizzard's Sandy Sinkhole. I thought that boss fight was a lot of fun. This is the one where you're running around like a sand pit, like that's constantly falling inward conically. And the Squizzard, the titular Squizzard is throwing balls out at you that you need to kick back. Well, you have to grab the fire flower and then use the fire flower to throw it at him, and I
remember frustrations with this, but I think it's the Daredevil run that was frustrating the hell out of me.
Yeah, and there were a couple of those. I think we talked a little bit about the Daredevil stuff last time, but just to refresh everyone in case you're just joining us for part 2. One, that's weird. You should have listened to part 1. Who listens to just the back half? But yeah, the Daredevil challenges, the prankster comets appear. So these happen where, as you progress through the game, there are are they called comet coins that you collect? And as you unlock those, they unlock not a corresponding, but there's a challenge that pops up. They call them prankster comets that unlock somewhere along the galaxies, and you kind of jump back through and do those. And some of those, the Daredevil challenges, are just like you've got to do this, the thing you already did, but now you've got to do it by only taking one hit. Or you've got to, sometimes it's a speed run where you have to just get through it as quickly as possible. You only have 60 seconds to complete what you once did with an indefinite timer.
Or you got some bastard clones chasing you the entire time, too.
Those are fun. I kind of like those a lot.
They were clever, because some of those level designs were good. They were Comet Medals.
Comet Medals. I knew a coin wasn't the right term. Thank you. Yeah, I liked that one a good bit. I think I'd be remiss not to mention the Throwback Galaxy. Mm-hmm. I thought that one was a fun one. That's in World 6, where as soon as you get there, you're just at the pyramid for Mario 64, and then you have to fight. It's just cool, like seeing 64 even like now, right? Like I'm sure this probably looked really cool in 2010 after it had been like 15 years since Mario 64. But now in 2024, seeing it was like, man, it just looks good. It also, like, you can see where the game was so simple on 64 and how complex it's become with the capabilities of the Wii and what they're able to pull off. But yeah, that one was neat. And going back through that one, you kind of get the other challenges that are, again, throwbacks to Mario 64. Pretty good time.
Which one was the one that you were put into, you had to like do the boulder dash thing all the way through, and you had to control your rolls, and like it was a straight line, and you kept like hitting the ramps to go to like another piece of the section. I'm struggling to remember what galaxy that was.
I don't remember. Was that one of the like secondary stars, not the primary?
Maybe. But I can't remember. That was another fun one. It was late in the game, and I just can't remember where it was, and I did not make note of it naturally. But yeah, that was another good one.
Yeah.
Unless it was one of the ones I went back for, and I'm confusing it somewhere else for later. But
any of those though that like kind of are super specific to a power up, I think are fun. With some caveats. I am not a fan of the bee costume. Every time that's kind of come up, like,
yeah,
I thought it was novel maybe the first time I played it, but I think last episode I don't think I was too kind to it, but didn't change in the back half of the game anytime it came up, which it thankfully came up rarely. But the rock costume, however, was like a lot of fun. I liked that one. That was a good power up. I think the Fire Flower is fine in this, but I don't like love its implementation in this game. I don't know.
It's fine.
But again, I think a level where, to your point, where like it can effectively use that power up in smart new ways is fun. And the rock costume lends itself to that, I think, pretty well.
Oh, sorry, that's where it was. It was the second star in Melty Monster Galaxy.
Okay, so you really liked that one.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that makes sense because the bowling challenge was up in that galaxy too. So yeah, everything.
Yeah. So in order to reach the end of the game, you do need to have 70 stars to fight Bowser. And in order to get 70 stars, I felt like I had to do a decent bit of backtracking. What was your experience in revisiting stars you'd skipped, or how did you approach that? Were you kind of like clearing worlds all one at a time before moving into the next world? Like, did you get to Bowser pretty easily, or did you have to,
So I when I went back to this game after a few months, I noticed that I was clearing the main stars, like maybe like star 1 and 2, but not doing the prankster comet, or I missed the comet medal.
Yep.
So I don't know what changed. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't like the game early on, but like I think I fell in love with the game this time around for whatever reason. And so once I started, I don't know, I would do like a chunk of world. What really caused it was I did World 4, and I was just clearing the planet or the galaxies out, and you would get that little silver star or something to indicate that it's done. And I was like, oh, that's addicting to see. So then I started doing it, and I got through World 4, and I was like, well, what if I mix up my gameplay here? So I like circled back to World 1 and finished the comet medals and my prankster comets. And then we'll kind of like start World 2, and after I got tired of collecting the medals or searching for them or whatever, I'll go back to like main campaign World 5, but like take out every galaxy, like just go back in, take out all the stars, make sure I get the comet medal, and so I ended up getting into this weird obsession where I pretty much, at time of recording now, I beat the game, haven't touched World S yet, but like the full galaxies are done for worlds 1 through 5, up until the point where I get a new star type.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, you're like right there. With that, do you feel like it was hard to find? Because some of the secondary stars, they pop up right at the main menu, and they are just like, here's the challenge, go in and do this. Others, it's actual hidden stars. Do you feel like you had a tough time finding and uncovering sort of those hidden ones at times, or?
I don't think so. I honestly think that I looked up a comet medal maybe once, maybe twice. But, no, I think that was the, Oh, I know what the second one was. Yeah, sorry. So there was one comet medal. Don't remember that one in particular, but I remember the second one why I looked it up. But no, in particular, I like the I kind of like exploring every nook and cranny of the level, because it's not just exploring, and I think this is where I've said this about Mario games in the past too, with Odyssey and I guess just Odyssey is what I've been around for. Maybe I've said it out loud to clouds at some point, but I think Mario is really good about like, it's not simple design, but it's good and it's easy enough to carry the main player along. But it's like when you start doing your collectathon, that's when you have to do your triple jump, your backflips. You have to utilize Mario's movements and skill set in each game perfectly, and almost perfectly at least. And I think not just exploring the levels, but like seeing the thing from, seeing exactly where it's at, and then trying to figure out how do I platform up there, or what do I have to utilize, or like, do I have to bait an enemy at me, like jump on top of him, or it, or whatever. I like the, not just the exploring, but also the mystery solving almost as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think that's where like the difficulty comes into play with the back half of this game?
I think the game got hard by 5 and 6, just in general. Yeah. And I was actually kind of shocked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few, that I was like having to retry more often than I thought I would. But then you think on top of that, just sort of that backtracking and optimization of your gameplay, that's where the challenge hits?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that one, the pit boss, and the one the Slip Sand Galaxy with the Squizzards. Again, like that boss, it was tough. I'm not going to say it was like, walk in the park, but to do the Daredevil run on that one was hard. And I failed a couple times doing that one. So, I think just going back, it adds another layer to. I'm not going to say it turns it to a 10 all the time, but what was a 4 or 5 is now maybe a 7, 8, depending on the situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's talk final boss fight. Were you disappointed? Were you happy?
Well, I can certainly say this. I did make a note of it, and I kind of don't remember what it was. So, forgettable might be a good term.
There you go. Yeah. For me, it was
it
was the same fight that you had to do before with Bowser.
And then you do that second stage of it where you're like flying through the air and you land. Yeah, it was fine. That was fine.
And like they added that little bit, but I felt like it was a missed opportunity to like add something more challenging. I don't know. And maybe there's something once you get all 242 stars that you at that point there's another.
I almost would have loved if second stage, or it's created a whole another galaxy where Bowser became big enough, because that was the thing. He ate that power star and grew in size, where he became big enough to have a gravitational pull. Then it was pretty much like Galaxy Bowser. They needed to do some kind of platforming and hit him in a weak spot, and it changed depending on where you were on his body and whatever.
Yeah,
that could have been cool.
I agree.
And his gravitational pull was almost becoming a black hole, where that's where the outside platforming, you can go around on the different stars, go around him, shoot whatever. I just built a level for Super Mario Galaxy 3 when they do it on the Switch too.
Well, speaking of boss fights, that's something we haven't like super talked about throughout our time with the game, but do you feel like all of the bosses in the game feel like Mario bosses?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have much more to say besides, yeah. I mean, it's always hit them 3 times, and it varies between 1 to 2, then 2 to 3 are all different.
Yeah, playing this one, it like sometimes some of the bosses, it's like, this isn't a Mario boss to me. But then I've realized I'm like thinking very small, and I'm thinking Mario 3, where it's like you just fight the Koopa Kids and that's it. Like Mario bosses have always been weird creatures, weird reinterpretations of actual animals or things that we have. I think these of any of the 3D Marios have the most Mario-esque. Like, I didn't love the rabbits in Mario Odyssey as a boss.
I haven't touched that game since that year.
They were like all rabbits in suits. I didn't love it. But yeah, overall, I thought these were fun. And yeah, to your point, 1, 2, 3, and you move on. Did you play as Luigi a bunch in this back half of the game?
I didn't.
I don't even think I had him pop up in this back half.
He popped. He popped more than Yoshi. Yoshi's like non-existent.
Yeah, Yoshi's nowhere.
He just fucking disappeared.
Yeah, I think there was like 2 stages, maybe? Nothing. Yeah, he was gone. It was weird. I wonder if this was like, if the back half of this game was leftover ideas from the first one, so it didn't make sense to put Yoshi in it,
I don't know, but yeah, Yoshi, not around much.
So I don't think either of us, you didn't spend any time in World S. I played like the first handful of levels. But just to talk about that briefly, those are just sort of like weird. The first one is just like an 8-bit Mario made out of different tiles, and you have to kind of perfectly make your way across those tiles without falling through. The next one is kind of like a Rainbow Road. But obviously you're not on Mario Kart. This is another one of your rolling challenges. These are just like sort of weird challenges that don't, I don't know. They like don't fit necessarily in another world, but they do fit in the game, I think, on the whole. And then, so there's also the green stars, which I'm not close to. It sounds like you're pretty close to in this one. By collecting all 120 stars, then you unlock 120 green star challenges. And these all sort of fall back on in every world that you play through. And these are just sort of, I don't know if they're hidden necessarily. They're just sort of like in the world you've
I get the gist they're like hidden. Or again, like in a weird spot.
Yeah, you've got to go back through the level, do some things to get to weird spots and find them, I think is the idea. I think just like the core game, the green stars are all going to be a lot more, they'll start kind of easy to find, where it's like, oh, just look behind that building that you haven't been behind, and there it is. And the rest, it's not so much that. Do you know what you get when you collect all stars, 120 plus the 120 greens and the other 2 bonuses?
I don't know, because in the first game it was Luigi.
Right. Yeah, I don't know either.
Interesting. No, because I don't remember if I said it last time, but I 100% Galaxy 1 back in the day. And I remember getting Luigi, and I jumped like 3 times. I was like, well, that was fun.
Yeah, I think I talked about it too, but I don't remember if I unlocked it or if I just heard that that's what it was and I just stopped chasing it because I was like, this isn't worth it. I looked up what you get for getting all 242 stars, and I'm not going to say anything because I'll let you make up your mind. I'll leave it at that. If you're having fun playing through, I don't want to.
I mean, I'm not chasing the reward. I'm chasing the
accomplishment.
the checkbox. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the non-existent achievement on the Wii.
No, you get something. Kinda. When you cleared the game, did you not get a little pop-up?
I don't recall.
As soon as you beat Bowser, there's a thing that popped up on the screen that was like, a new message has been sent to the Wii's inbox.
Okay.
So I bet you do get some. That's the Wii achievement, man. You get something. They're not gonna
Cool.
leave you hanging. The Wii was a fantastic console. Still is a fantastic console.
Just wish I cleared on my personal one and not the Wii U.
Is that what you're playing on Wii U?
Yeah.
Yeah. I am too, actually. I don't
think I have a TV with AV jacks. That's kind of part of the problem.
Yeah, dude, It's hard to modernize these things now. Speaking of the Wii, how comfortable was it playing through this game with the Wii Remote?
Wasn't terrible. It was as expected. A couple times where I'm pointing at the screen and it's just, little cutting in and out sometimes. If you move it too fast, it doesn't sense it. Go off the screen, and the little things that I was reminded of so much, in the heyday of it. But I mean, it wasn't bad. Do
they work? The Wii Remote nunchuck combination, does that feel right for Super Mario Galaxy?
I don't know if I would say feels right because it always feels awkward in a way. A little weird going back to the. What would that be? Octagonal joystick where, it's not a full 360 motion. You're kind of locked in, but other than that, it's fine. I never felt like I couldn't perform a type of jump with or do an action or whatever with the control set. I always felt like I could pull it off. I mean, I would think I speak for both of us, but we're so used to freaking, face buttons, shoulder buttons, some kind of D-pad, joystick. It is always going to be a little bit awkward in that regard, but I think it works. It's good enough.
Do you think this would have worked better with a GameCube controller or another a more modern control type?
Yes and no. I kind of like the shake for whether, even if it is a 90% register rate and not 100%, and that 1 out of 10 can sometimes be a pain. But I don't know. I kind of like the shake. I kind of like pointing for the star bits because even that's a puzzle in itself in a way. When you're traveling around from little planet to little planet or whatever.
Yeah, the soaring and sort of quickly,
again, the end game, there's not a lot of Yoshi, but I like the whole Yoshi mechanic using his tongue, the reticle is the tongue targeting system. It's I don't think the GameCube would have improved upon anything. But I don't think it would have been bad. I don't think this is a game that you have to play. It is designed. It is designed that way, but they made a few modifications with Yoshi. I don't think this is a game that would you have to play with the Wiimote.
No, and in fact, I was curious to see how they implemented this when they ported Galaxy 1 to Switch. And I jumped into that this week just to get a feel for it, played a few levels. Because I tried it, when it first got ported, I remember checking it out in 2020 or 21, whenever that was. And trying it this time. and like so fresh off of Galaxy 2. It's not bad. The thing that's a little weird is the way they handle the pointer, because it's still there, but you hit the R trigger or bumper to sort of recenter that, but your controller, whatever you're using, is still gyro. So like you're not necessarily pointing at the screen, but you are still moving that pointer. But I bet it feels a little bit more natural when you're not so used to just like pointing a remote at the screen and that thing moving. But jumping, moving, even the spin, they do let you like shake the controller, but you can also just hit Y on the controller, and Mario does all that stuff. So it kind of worked. Visuals on the Wii. Do you think I guess the game itself, do you think that the stages offered a lot of variety visually compared to the first half?
I mean, it starts to get somewhat samey. Because I mean, there's multiple Boo levels, there's multiple Bowser levels, and while there's different, the way the level shakes out, they kind of, Bowser, lava, haunted mansions. It's a mansion with probably some purples and darkness. There's some mechanical levels, but they kind of blend together. I mean, but I think each galaxy stands out in its own way, just in the way the level design is. In terms of how they're played. And there's some, I would say the Throwback Galaxy sticks out because you can tell that's like, and they did this on purpose, not like it's a bad looking level, but you can tell, even if you didn't know it was from the N64 original game, you could probably take an educated guess based off the name and the way it looks and things of that nature.
It's like, it's much higher fidelity, but it still feels low poly in a way.
Yeah.
What do you think of the enemy design overall? We talked a little bit about bosses and challenge, but like boss designs look cool. Enemy designs, any of the new enemies, everybody look cool, feel cool to you? Any standouts?
Yeah, they're standouts. Oof. I'm trying to look at
I like the Jack
here.
Ogumba.
Okay.
Although, of course, they first appeared in Galaxy 1, but of course, those are pretty good. I do like again, I think this is going to be a Galaxy 1 thing. No, it's not. The Cosmic Clone. The little ghost clones that follow Mario in certain challenges. Those are new to this one. I like just kind of the look of that. Like, it's kind of haunting, but you don't know that right away until you run into it.
There's a really good level. I mean, I don't know when I'm going to get to talk about it, but there's a really good level with them when you're trying to get I think it's a chain chomp, and you're trying to navigate him through this thing where like you have to hold down, like you have to be on this platform to bring it down so that way he gets through without breaking. And it's like in a snake pattern, and like if you run the snake pattern, you're gonna run right back into him. So you have to figure out a way to like navigate jumping and timing everything so that way they don't catch up to you while you're just standing there slowly, like letting the platforms come down and you're using your weight. That was a tough level. That was the one I failed a couple times, but that was like the most unique one with the purple clones, I think.
Yeah, they're cool.
That was a Chain Chomp Galaxy towards the end. I forget what the name of it, but yeah.
Yeah, overall, I like it. I think I do like this style. I think the Mario Galaxy style, like his key design and sort of the overall like brand design, it kind of stayed that way for the better part of the last decade. Like, I don't think we really got a refresh until Wonder just last year. I think like Mario's kind of looked the same. All the characters in the world have kind of all looked the same. Just maybe a little bit higher resolution, but yeah. I mean, not necessarily enemies, but I do really like, and in both of these games, Galaxy 1 and 2, but I love all the Lumas, just generally speaking. Just the baby Lumas are like a very, very good silhouette of a character. Like they're very well designed. Luba, whatever his name is pretty dumb, and I like him too. But yeah, I think that whole addition to the Mario history's cool. Speaking of visuals, do you think how well do you think Mario Galaxy 2, I should say, because this is a later Wii title. This is 2010 when it launched. How well do you think it takes advantage of I guess let's start with visuals, but we can move into sort of just like technical stuff. But, does it look good? Not just does it look good for a Wii game first?
I mean, I think it does. Ideally, the only bad part is with me. I mean, I am playing on Wii U, and you could tell it's scaled up from its original 480 on a 4K television. So I do have some of that blurriness, but I don't think that's just technology. Yeah. I think it looks good though. Like I think colors really pop off this game, and it's the way they take advantage of colors against like contrast and things of that nature. Especially the galaxies that are dark. Those bright, vivid colors really pop. Like fire pops, ice pops off that black backdrop. Yeah, I agree. Were there any times when you were playing it and you felt like, oh man, I wish this weren't on Wii? Something holding it back. I mean,
not in that regard, but just like
that 1 out of 10 times spinning your the Wii Remote.
Sure. Technically, though, like you feel like did it ever chug? Did you ever have any moments where you were like,
nah, no.
Do you think this would have been better had Nintendo not put out the Wii and they put out something technically on par with PS3, 360,
No, I think that's brilliant of Nintendo games. They always fuck off and do their own thing, and it's usually pretty good.
So you're saying, Matt Sellner, that the Nintendo did not need to go third party after the GameCube?
Probably not, no.
Oh, right.
I mean, the Wii U has killed them, but...
Nah, you remember all of those... Every time Nintendo has one of those console generations where things just slip, that's every single article for, like...
Oh, yeah, I'm sure...
2 years. It's just, they're going mobile, they're going third party, they're going to sell their IP. Is Nintendo going the way of Sega?
I'm sure there's a voice or a tweet, some type of clip of me probably saying, like, the Wii U might kill them, but...
I wasn't pulling you out on that one. I'm just talking about the general...
Oh, I remember that.
After
yeah.
GameCube, it was just like... I think it was after GameCube being what GameCube ended up being, and then the idea that this was going to be like an all-ages console, everyone was like, nope, this will never work, pack it in, they've got to sell themselves to whoever, and put Mario out on the 360.
I was a non-believer in the Wii, though, when it came out.
Really?
Or in the lead up to it. I did not think we were ready for motion controls.
Are we ready now?
I mean, we're kind of in it, in a way. A better fad than 3D TV.
True. Looking at overall, do you feel like this increased your appreciation of the Wii? Did you already have an okay appreciation in the years that have followed, or?
I mean, I think Nintendo has a lot of good titles on the Wii itself. There is a lot of crap on the Wii, which you have to parse through, but usually a Nintendo published item on the Wii was pretty good.
I agree.
And that's kind of, I was going to say, I mean, even going to the Wii U, as much as I trashed that, I mean, the Nintendo games on the Wii U were pretty good.
Yeah,
Case in point, I played a lot of them on Switch, and I've liked them all.
Yeah. Now you know what everybody was talking about for years. Well, I don't know if this did this for you, and I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing for you or me, but playing this game in particular this year not reminded me of how much I love the Wii, but it did just sort of spark that a bit. I have some stuff coming for season 13 that I know I'm excited about, but
Okay.
I don't know where you'll land. I'm also second guessing something right now and wondering if I should swap it for something else, but that's for me to figure out later on. Listeners, stay tuned to 2025. Which
For a
levels
second,
are
I
the
thought we
most...
were in 2023, to be honest with you. You
all
told me
this
something
stuff.
dumb the other day, not on the recording. I thought you were going there already.
I don't even remember what you have to tell me after when we're off air. I don't remember that part. Which levels have the most memorable music?
Ooh. Ugh. I don't have a good answer for you. I would
That's
say
okay.
that I think the
wrote
music in
that
general
question-
is good
Yeah.
in general, though.
No, I agree. I wrote that to see if something would come out. You know what I mean? I wanted to
I
see
get
like
that.
if you had a gut answer that your brain would have just produced. But I agree. Yeah, the overall, I like the way that like everything here feels very orchestral, which I think is obvious because it is orchestral. But it's just very like it's also like sort of whimsical. Like it just sort of nothing's ever too intense. Nothing's ever too whatever. I guess I'm thinking particularly about like Starship Mario's theme, but I think even within the worlds themselves or the galaxies themselves, I don't know, everything just sort of like flows a bit.
I would
There's
even
the
say
dancers.
you said there's nothing non-threatening about it, but I would say like I remember like the boss music escalating in either like tempo or they gave you that feeling of I wouldn't say caution, but like eagerness and a little anxiety, especially
Yeah.
like when you got hit 2 in and you went from that stage of like, what's the third phase of this fight looks like to land the third and final hit. I would say the music picked up in accordance of like the threat level.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Are there any sounds, speaking of threat levels, that are tattooed to your brain after playing it?
Shockingly, no. I did throw up. Is this a Sonic thing? I don't know. When did Mario throw up a peace sign? Is that a Sonic thing?
No, Mario's been throwing up peace signs for a while. There's
Okay.
old promotional images of him from like the early 90s doing, he's like in all
Much
those
like
circles.
Much like when I was bowing during Ape Escape every time I entered a level, I was throwing up peace signs with every Power Star collected.
Yeah, that's fair. You gotta do it now though, like when you're done pouring coffee. Peace sign. Do a backflip, scream wahoo. Are there any, I guess with this game, where does the sound design fall in the history of Mario games? Do you feel like has this defined modern Mario?
Sure. Like I think it's one of those things. I think every Mario game is solid. I think it's. I mean, the sound. Obviously, they're different in tones and whatnot, but I think like sound is good in every Mario game. Music's good in every Mario game. The look of it. Even Sunshine to an extent. It's a small blunder. I think the game still plays well, and there's interesting challenge with the water mechanic. It's not a bad game. I think it's just it's not as good game compared. It kind of makes it a weird outlier. But I think each Mario game, it's the gameplay that kind of is your main stamp on a Mario game. And I know it's kind of tough early on with 2D games, maybe besides just powers and levels and stuff like that. But in the 3D world, I would say, each game has had some kind of big change in mechanic, maybe besides Galaxy 1 and 2. Well, I mean, the introduction of Yoshi is a big deal.
Yeah, Yoshi's big, yeah.
But yeah, like 64, I mean, yeah, it was 3D Mario. I mean, that brand new right there. What's next? What, GameCube? Sunshine? I mean, I guess we didn't know better at that point, to be fair.
Yeah. There was only one other to compare it to, and it was just, yeah.
I mean, the Galaxy games, they always play with gravity. That was why I like the idea of gravity and the weird cameras and all that stuff. I think it made for interesting level design. We got it twice. And then Odyssey, I mean, big open world, but also the the hat, Cappy, right?
Cappy. Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. Again, I think personally, Galaxy's still, I think, my favorite in terms of gameplay, just because of the weird things they can get away with like playing with Galaxy is not necessarily like a world, but no, just to kind of go back to the original question, I think the sound falls in line with the rest of them. I mean, if you have an opinion, let me know. No. I think gameplay is the thing that stamps the big differential of where a Mario game falls in history.
What do you think that Galaxy 2 does particularly better than other Mario platformers?
I like the level design, and again, I think it's a cheat code because, like, within the same galaxy, you can go from like planet to planet and change up the dynamic of it, and it makes total sense. Like in Odyssey, you had to go into those like little hieroglyphics to do the 2D platforming. And that's fine. It was a way to get everything, that perspective into Odyssey. But in this game, like you're on a small little planet, you smash 3 Goombas, and you launch away, and then all of a sudden now you're in this weird 2D. It's still 3D, but it's a 2D side-scrolling section where, like the world is, you're like rotating around a void, and like one section's going up, one section's going down, but you can stay and you rotate around the whole planet. I really like those moments where like there's a couple small little planets with gravitational pull, and you just do like a big leap, and you just start like going all the way around. Like, I don't know, it's dumb stuff like that. I just think how you mess around with gravitational pulls, the little stars that you can grab onto, and how you float around in the sky. It just messing. It's almost a cheat code, and I think that's why they got away with a 2 instead of this being the original DLC plan or whatever. I just think they just started going nuts with level design and made it work.
Fair. What do you think about this game in particular is better than the other 2D Marios? Because you're a big Super Mario World fan, but what about Galaxy 2 is better than World?
That's a tough question.
Doesn't mean it is a better game than World, but just,
I think it's the powers stick out, right? Because a lot of this game are not in powers, and when you get the powers, they're almost necessary. In World, it's much more of a luxury. Like, if you get the feather in World, you start, and then before you know it, you're touching a flag. Here, like, if you get a fireball, you're most likely about to fireball something out of necessity.
That's true. Yeah, they only give you what you need here, where I guess like you could always find other things in World if you had certain powers, and that was one.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where the collectathon and the exploring and the unsolving the mystery kind of comes in, but yeah.
Do you feel like this game had a lot of mystery?
I think so. I think the 3D and the weird perspective stuff that the galaxies give you allow interesting things. There is one, it was the second Comet medal I had to look up. It was one of the Buzzard, or maybe not Buzzard. Well, the who's the little guy you get on and you glide, and you have to use the Wii Remote to kind of like dip. You lean forward, he dives. You're soaring. You're behind.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember his name though.
One of the later worlds, there's one where you're flying through and you have to hit the 6 or 5 gates, and there's a gate that is all the way on the other side. As you get out, you're in this area, and then you get outside and you see like some coins going left mysteriously, and you realize like you have to go all 360 this entire like gravitational pull to get the gate, and then come back around in time to hit where like you're supposed to go without dying. I forgot where I was going with that. Maybe like the mystery. Yeah, the mystery. Like that stuff, you can't pull that off in a 2D Mario.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like sure you can get into the clouds, but that's like an easy guess.
It's a different type of secret at that point. Yeah. Fluzzard.
I was close.
Never. Yeah, I wouldn't have got it. Yeah, you were close. Matt, we're gonna come back. We'll talk more on Super Mario Galaxy 2 in November, and we'll rank Super Mario Galaxy 2 along with the rest of them. Any final thoughts on clearing the game where it stands today?
I mean, I like this game a lot. I'm still kind of... My personal schedule put me against the 8 ball here. I would have loved to come and at least have all the power stars, but to the point where I started to go green, but I couldn't. But I still got the itch, and I do want to go back and try to 100% complete this. Just to do it, because I was having fun doing it. It never felt like a chore either. I was going back and having fun, I would say, about 95% of the time. There was a couple annoying levels. What's that beach one sucked? Not my favorite.
I don't remember which one. Later half or early half?
Later. Starshine Beach Galaxy. It wasn't like a full water one. It was more like shallow water a lot. The first level, you were collecting the purple stars, or the silver stars to collect a big star.
Was that a
the
Yoshi
second
level?
one? Yes.
Okay, yep. I did not like that one either.
The Purple Coin Beach Dash one, the comet, the prankster comet. That was a fun little thing there, because you got it was the chili peppers again, and you were gliding, running across water.
That one I did like. Yeah. I did go back and do that one like right away. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, again, a one-off thing that it was just the one section I loved. The second part of it was a little bit better. It was more traditional, not just like run around this beach and collect shit.
Yeah. And I'm with you. When I finished the game, I was like not ready to be done with it. I was relieved partially because of, again, like the schedule of what we're this month ended up being a pretty heavy month in terms of like hours needed to put into video games. It's the heaviest we've had in a while.
Maybe all year?
I think definitely all year, but I think like even the last
going
few
back,
months, just like I don't think we've had something that had like the total cumulative hours on average clear for these games since like May, when we were doing Daikatana and Siphon Filter. Maybe?
Siphon Filter.
Yeah. Siphon Filter, Logan Shadow on PSP.
Oh my god, the PSP game. I'm thinking of the PS1 game. I'm like, we definitely did not play fucking Siphon Filter 1.
Yeah.
Right.
But
god,
like
that was this year.
Month, I know. We had like some heavy run times, but I feel like since then, like Outrun, Ape Escape, Soul Calibur,
Puzzle
City
City
games, Device 6, like everything was kind of short throughout the summer. And then Bully was a little bit longer. Next week we've got Little Big Planet. We've got South Park at the end of the month with Halo to follow. There was some stuff this month, so in that regard, like, yeah, I was like, okay, I've got room to continue on the podcast games, but don't feel done with Super Mario Galaxy 2 just yet. And I do want to play more of 1 just to see how it compares with 2. So I look forward to doing that over the next few months before we record and rank all of these fellas. Well, with that, if you're waiting for more Mario Galaxy 2, we'll have that in November. Look forward to that. If you're looking for more podcasts, we've got a ton of them. We've got 500 and something other, 70 something other of them, including last week's Bully. And the week before that, we did Jet Grind Radio. We've had some, we just talked about it. We've had some good episodes this year. And some games I forgot about. We've talked about the Jeff Gersman show on this podcast. And I'd like to mention that I think it was 2 weeks ago, Jeff's been ranking Nintendo Entertainment System video games. And he does this every Friday from 1 p.m. till like 4:30 p.m. Eastern, that is. And it's sort of just like a handful of NES games. He plays them up to a certain point where If he can beat it, he beats it. If not, as long as he's got a good grip for it, he ranks it on his list. He's doing very much a free cheese thing, which of course is a thing we ripped off from Jeff Gerstmann's fighting games ranking years ago at Giant Bomb. But he just did The Guardian Legend not too long ago, and it ranked pretty high on his NES rankings. So go check that out. I believe the shortcut, if you want to look at his current list, is 8bitnintendo.science, which is a fantastic website name, and it's a cool webpage put together by a bunch of people. If you want to see our list and everything that we've ranked so far over the last 3 years, you can do that at thefreecheese.com/thelist, where we now have 105 video games. Pretty good. We're getting there. Next week, we'll be back with Little Big Planet to talk about the history of PlayStation platformers, if you will. And I will. Until then, thanks, Matt. Thanks, listener, for listening. See you next time. Bye.